Hi, and welcome back to Super Sons. This week we are joined by Steve Urena. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Peachy.
All right.
Great. So, Steve has a book on Kickstarter right now called Slowpokes, a sloth horror comedy comic book, which is right up my alley. If you didn't know, we're actually two very hard-hitting journalists, and we always like to open our interviews with something that really catches people off guard. We really take their hand to the grinder. What's your favorite sandwich?
So, my favorite sandwich, being a Jersey boy, has to be Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. That is the ultimate sandwich. It's none of this pork roll bullshit. It's Taylor ham, egg, and cheese.
Jake knows that I'm like... I heard you sigh. So you're wrong.
I already ruined the interview.
You're wrong. First up, Taylor ham is the name of a brand. Pork roll is the meat. We won't have this debate on the show because we are going to be civilized. But I can tell you are a North Jerseyan.
Yes, that is true. That is absolutely true. So that's probably why I had you guess.
Yeah, but all the names aside, pork roll is the tops.
Oh, it's so good. Like, just whenever I go back to Jersey to see my family, like I feel like I need to get it every time. And I haven't had one since I've been going back and forth from New Jersey to Connecticut, during this quarantine time. And I've been scared shitless to leave the house, so I should probably go get myself a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese as in the North.
Jake, you're gonna need to take the next question. You need a breather.
All right, here's the real questions. Because I'm a real hard hitting journalist.
What are your guys' favorite sandwiches? Because it can't just be me talking. This is a conversation.
Jake, what's yours?
God, I don't really eat a lot of sandwiches, but I guess it's just a chicken sandwich. Honestly, I feel like I should just take some chicken cutlets, put it on some Hawaiian rolls. It'd be pretty good.
I do like the Hawaiian roll. I'm a big fan of that. So mine is actually a sandwich that eventually became named after me. That is at a deli in Madison, New Jersey for Telly's.
Awesome. It's
called the Big Daddy. It was called Texas.
Yeah.
Mile. So Big Daddy was my nickname in college, pretty much my real name in college. So what it is chicken cutlets, cheddar cheese, mozzarella cheese, ranch, and barbecue sauce. And then
was that like one of those sandwiches like you get at like Rutgers?
No. This one is just it's just heart clogging. But the ones at Rutgers also are something else. The fat sandwiches, I don't think anyone's talked about the fat sandwich. No one said fat sandwiches are favorites. Maybe we'll get someone like that one day. But yeah, I'm a sandwich connoisseur. I'll eat any type of sandwich. Being DC, guys, what do you think is Superman's favorite sandwiches? I feel like the Justice League, there should be like, what are their favorite sandwiches?
I mean, I feel like Superman's would be peanut butter and jelly. All American.
The American way.
Yeah, I think he's pretty plain and simple like that. Like Ma Kent makes him peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
And we know all the bad families are cucumber sandwiches.
Yeah, but I feel like Lois Lane makes him sandwiches, but like they're not as good as Ma Kent's. But he'll never tell her that because he loves her too much, and that's who Superman is.
But or she accidentally let it slip.
He makes him like cold sandwiches, and then when her back's turned, he like heats them up.
So, Jake, take it away.
All right. This is the first thing that went through my mind when I saw this Kickstarter. What the literal fuck went through your brain after seeing a sloth for you to go, I bet those guys could murder a ton of people if they were just a smidge faster.
Those sloths to me are fucking horrifying. Like they move weird. They have claws. They're always giving you a look like they just like broke somebody's neck. Like they just look at you like that.
You mean the animals that after their keepers bathe them in tea get hung up on a rack to dry?
Yeah, Just by looking at them. And again, I've always thought with sloths that if God made them fast, they would just fuck everybody up. Like God made them slow to protect the human race. That's how I always thought of them when it comes to sloths. But like this was during the time of Sharknado 9 or whatever number they're at now, and we were coming up with like ridiculous things. And I'm like, oh, what if they just made sloths fast and they were killing machines? And I always had that in my mind. And then when I took the comic classes, I was like, oh, this would be so much fun to do. We'll see how it gets done. And everybody in the class liked it. So I'm like, you know what? Might as well get it done. I thought with the Kickstarter, I was like, oh, maybe just my friends will buy it, or 3 or 4 people will buy it or something like that. But it's taken off, which is crazy. And we're at a pretty good number for Kickstarter. And it's just my parents, who I love very much, they were like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like sloths, and you're spending money on this? And for me, I was like, you know what? If they think it's a bad idea, it's probably a good idea.
I mean, they do have those claws on their hands.
They do. They have. I know they. It takes them like a week to poop, which isn't very scary. But I just think that they're horrifying looking, and just I feel like nobody. I feel like if let's say my comic came to life, nobody would see that shit coming at all.
Yeah, because they just assume there's like it's like a fast zombie. You're like, yeah, you'll be all right, but no, you won't.
I mean, what if that's the play here? I mean, with coronavirus and 2020 being crazy, full of murder hornets and all this nonsense. But if the sloths are like, we were fast the whole time, we're just waiting for our moment.
I'm just thinking about the Arthur meme with his fist, but it's a sloth claw. But it's open because a sloth's claw is actually shut when it's relaxed.
I'm also trying to figure out where the nearest sloth is in my vicinity, but I think it might be Philadelphia. So I think I'm good. I think he's far enough away that I don't have to worry about him.
Not if they're fast.
If you're fast, you're fucked. Which was the original tagline, but then somebody was like, oh, maybe we should turn it into like don't slow down because they've sped up. But I was going to do originally it was going to be don't slow down because they're fast as fuck. But I think the other one has more of a ring to it.
So with this book, I wanted to ask, what are some of your horror and your comedy influences?
So my horror influences, I love all horror, but I love like the 80s horror movies where I feel like they were just way more creative, especially with their makeup and kill. Like when you see a horror movie where people are having fun, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, or like,
it's my coaster actually.
Yeah, or the Ice Cream Man, like shit like that. You're gonna be like, I want to see this, and going into it, it's not going to be Godfather 2 or anything like that.
All right,
you're going to be
slow your roll there. Killer Clowns from Outer Space 2. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is probably better than The Godfather. It is pretty good, yeah. But you don't want to go on record. You don't want to go on record saying that Killer Clowns from Outer Space is better than The Godfather.
Sure, let's do it. I mean, the human beings with the cotton candy. I actually went to Halloween Horror Nights last year.
Me too.
I went crazy for the Killer Clowns from Outer Space haunted house. I was like, this is amazing. And like just going in there, you felt like you were actually in the movie.
Yeah, when we got there, they were outside, like just taking pictures of people. It's like I got pictures with the killer clowns. They're like, oh, this is awesome. And then I got into the ride, and they had the Clownosaurus Rex. And I was like, oh.
I love the Halloween horror haunted houses because they just put so much detail. Because you would never, like, I wouldn't think of that as my first, like, haunted house. Like, I'd be like, maybe something bigger, I guess, especially in the Universal Library or whatever it is. But it was so great last year, and it sucks. I wanted to go this year, but coronavirus ruined everything. Yeah. So my goal for Slowpokes one day, maybe they'll do a Universal haunted house. That's the ultimate goal.
That is a very unique goal, but I think with enough effort, you could get there. And if not, just buy a bunch of sloths and piss them off.
Just let them free. Yeah. See what happens. But to answer your question, horror influences definitely the 80s stuff, Tom Savini stuff, and then comedy influences. I love comedy shows. Out in Connecticut, there's so many different venues that you can go see comedy. like whether I want to go to the city or just go into the Capitol Theater up in Portchester. But I love like Dave Chappelle, Richard Pryor. I love Hannibal Buress. Those are some of the names that come to mind. I love Broad City. There really isn't anybody that I don't like. I don't like one sec. He's an Italian comedian. I'm not a big fan of him. I'll remember the name in a second. But I definitely just love comedy, and for me, I just love doing things that are fun. And with Slowpokes, I hope everybody has fun reading it. Or this will be my first and last comic.
Hey, at least you're honest with yourself. Yeah, I'm a big Hannibal Buress fan because I'm a huge Eric Andre fan. So.
Oh, I love him too. I saw him in the city, I think last year, and just the ranch, like Legalized Ranch, is so good.
Dan, don't you have a Legalized Ranch hat?
It's in here somewhere.
So the comedian I'm not a big fan of, and maybe he's a nice guy, but Sebastian Maniscalco, I think he's awful.
I think Mike likes him. So, Jake.
All right. So this is a long question. Well, it's multiple questions. So, does Karate Carlos actually know karate? Is his name really karate? If no, how did he earn the name karate? Is it because he bought the shirt? I have to know.
So Karate Carlos does actually know karate. He may not be a black belt at this moment, but Karate Carlos is actually based on somebody I went to high school with. There was a kid in a grade below me, and he was always like he always was left back, but like this kid loved karate. This kid thought he was an anime character. Like he would go up to my friends with like an energy, like he thought he had an energy ball in his hand. And he'd be like, "You got to feel this energy ball, man." Everybody's like, "Oh, okay," but Karate Carlos is based on a real person. But Karate Carlos. I'm sorry, what?
You got to feel my energy balls, man.
That's right. Feel my energy balls. That's right. That was from 16, 17. I mean, where I went to school, there were just always characters just walking around. Even there's a character called the Hurricane in the book, and that's based on somebody that went to my high school too, who just would call himself the Hurricane, like The Rock. And he was like awful at football and all these sorts of things. He was a nice kid, but it's one of those nicknames that he tried to give himself and it just didn't work.
Good for him.
I know a few people like that.
I know. I've tried to look for him on Facebook, but the Hurricane. There's I can't find it.
So I want to go back to the horror question, and as you said, you love the '80s. So, what was your favorite slasher flick or franchise? Like, who's your slasher?
I like Portrait of Henry. I think that's a good slasher flick. It's kind of fucked up. I love obviously Michael Myers and Friday the 13th. And those type of, I love the Killer Doll stuff. Like Child's Play would be a dream to like work on. Like with Child's Play, the new one that they had out, I wasn't a big fan of it because I kind of was hoping that, because they said they were going to reboot it and everything. I thought that they were going to have, Chucky go into Andy's body and actually kill as a child, because they haven't done that yet. And so I was a little disappointed that it was like just this
puppet.
What?
Like he would go inside the child like a puppet and just kind of like wear him like a puppet.
Oh no!
That's another movie. That's Child's Play 2. But like he'll possess him because they use voodoo and stuff in the Child's Play. But that would be an interesting twist on Child's Play, that's for sure.
yeah, I never thought about the voodoo, like actually putting that spirit into the. That would be interesting.
I just think that this guy's gone through like 8 or 9 Child's Play movies, and like he kept alluding to it, and then he just never got there. And then now there's Chucky has like a family, and that's great and all, but I was expecting something like that.
All right, so on a serious note, I noticed right away when I was going through the Kickstarter that all the characters were of varied body types. Was that important to you going in?
Yeah, for me, just people I know, like there's so many different body types, and I just kind of want to appeal to I guess it's more the people I know, and just like walking around, you see people of different body types. Not everybody is chiseled to the gills. So that definitely, I did have that in my mind going in. And I just wanted to appeal to as many different races, colors, and creeds, and as much as I can, because that's real life. Like I every time I walk down the street, there's so many different people. There's Asians, there's Puerto Ricans. Also, I am mixed as fuck. Like I'm Puerto Rican, Dominican, and Chinese. I like to call it Spicacino. But so I always want to make sure that I have that type of stuff in my writing. I feel like you'll get more eyes to it rather than just everybody is all the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you said, like, it's just how the real world is. Like, that's how life is. So with going through Kickstarter to do all of this, what do you think are some, like, what have you learned from doing this Kickstarter? Like, if you have any do's or don'ts.
So here's the thing, like this is my first Kickstarter project and I thought I was going to fuck up majorly. And maybe there's still time for me to fuck up. But for me, I just was like, you know what? I want to do stuff that other people, I want to do stuff that I would want to see. And so far that's worked. It's all about do right now. There's really not that much don't. I'm still, once the Kickstarter is done, maybe there'll be more of a don't, like maybe I fucked up the shipping or something. Mm-hmm. But, so far it's been a blast and people have been responding to everything. I mean, I made a song for it. I didn't think anybody would care, but, people are responding to it well. And I guess my advice would just be like, if you want to do something, go for it. I feel like you'll find your audience doing things that you love, and it'll if it shines through in your work, then people will find you.
Yeah, I think that's very important. So,
how did the process of looking at printers and print options go for you?
Again, it was an easy process. I used Comics Experience has their own printer called ONS Printing. They're trying out, and it was very affordable. And I just sent it to press a few days ago, so I'm hoping to get it, hopefully by next week or the week after. And it's been pretty good.
So you did talking about Comics Experience. So for our listeners our goal is to bring approachability and accessibility to comics. Could you explain a little bit about what Andy Schmidt's Comics Experience is?
Sure. Andy Schmidt's Comics Experience is a school, mostly an online school for people who want to get involved in comics. Whether you're an artist or writer or colorist, there's something definitely for everyone. That was kind of the toughest thing about being, trying to write comics, because at least for me, I couldn't find a school where you could just write. I found a lot of schools that you can be artists. So that was very tough for me. And I live in New Jersey, and I know like the Kubert experience is around here, but from what I saw, I think it was just, unless they changed it, it's just art. Mm-hmm. So when I wanted to take a jump at writing comics, I was like, what? This could be kind of fun. I'll start with the intro class and see if I like it. And I loved it. And I took more classes, and they're very, very helpful in making your comic happen. They have a very good program, and I definitely recommend it to anybody who has a passion for comics and wants to give it a shot.
And do you think it helped you improve your writing as well?
Yes, because they told you kind of like what books to read. It's good having feedback from the class about your comic, because like sometimes I might think something's funny or something's working and it might not work at all. But instead of saying, "Oh, that sucks," they'll be like, this is a fun idea. But why don't we switch it this way? It was a very positive experience, which going to school, being in like the creative writing room, it's always good to have people who have your back and are not just like, "Oh, this sucks, this is terrible." Like, yeah, it could suck, but like, how can we make it better together?
So what is your creative process like?
My creative process is cocaine. No, I'm only kidding. But my creative process is, I have a weird brain. Like my friends and people I work with are like, "How did this come into your brain?" Like whenever I'm doing work or doing stuff. So whenever I have a weird idea or crazy idea, I'll just write it down. And then when it's time to go to work, whether it's for comics or, I'm a copywriter doing work for that. It's just, just taking those ideas, writing them down. And even if they're crazy, like maybe later on you could take pieces and parts and create something else.
So with that, like creating things, when you're creating art or doing things and writing and you're putting it out into the world, what do you hope the impact is of it? How do you hope it makes people feel?
I hope it makes people want to do their own thing. I hope it makes people want to do their own art, whether it's comics or music or whatever that is. Because and I hope just people react to it, whether it's negative or positive. If somebody just reacts to my work, I'm cool with that, because that means that they felt something, whether it's negative or positive. I mean, killer sloths that become fast and kill everybody. I'm very curious as to see what the world thinks about this when it's out, because some people might hate it, some people might love it, and I'm very much looking forward to that. I don't know if it's a debate; it might just be all terrible, but I'm very much looking forward to people reacting, and that's what's going to make me better.
Yeah, that's awesome. So with wanting to create comics and being involved in the whole comic kind of world, what's a positive trend you've been seeing that you want to see more of?
I'm definitely loving all the independent comic books on Kickstarter. I love that people are just doing ideas that they want to do. Because like if I went to DC or Marvel or one of the big places and said, "Hey, I got an idea to do killer sloths that become fast," I would be kicked the fuck out. So it's just nice to see people doing, going outside of the comic, the superhero genre too, and doing horror comics or comics about just, whether it's coming out, right, or people playing dodgeball. Like it's nice to see a variety of different stories from different places. Because sometimes I'll look at comics and be like, "Oh, I didn't think about that. I'd like to check that out." Like that to me is very cool. Just finding their niche and finding people who enjoy that niche.
All right. So we like to end with this question. If you had to make a Rube Goldberg machine, what would its purpose be, and what would be the starting mechanism?
So I have a best friend's, my best friend's brother is somebody I love to mess with all the time. So I would make a Rube Goldberg machine that just always fucks with him, whether it's like dumping water on him, like throwing dirt on him or something like that. I would definitely make a Rube Goldberg machine to just pick on him and bully him mercilessly because I love him, but it would be like kind of that, hey, this is something that could happen to you. You know what I mean? Like you gotta keep your head up. You gotta keep your eyes open at all times. But it would be kind of like a Pee Wee Herman, I guess, Rube Goldberg type of machine that just annoys the shit out of him whenever I could. The starting mechanism would be probably like a let's say like the pinball that like goes up and then it like goes down and then it connects to all these things and then shoots water at him or something.
So how long does the Kickstarter have left?
Kickstarter will be done October 31st, Halloween Day, at 12:01 a.m. And everybody who purchased one will get their digital copies throughout the day. I will be sending all the digital copies out, and hopefully the printing gets here soon enough, and then I can send those out.
So we will post the Kickstarter on all of our social media.
Awesome.
And where can people find you online?
Hit me up at on Twitter or Instagram at the Steve Urena, Urena, and Slowpokes Comic. You can find me there.
You can find us at DC Super Sons on Twitter and Instagram at Super Sons Pod. We'll catch you in 2 weeks. And we'll talk to you then.